الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
ومن الناس من يعجبك قوله في الحياة الدنيا ويشهد الله على ما في قلبه وهو ألد الخصام. وإذا تولى سعى في الأرض ليفسد فيها ويهلك الحرث والنسل والله لا يحب الفساد.
وإذا قيل له اتق الله أخذته العزة بالإثم فحسبه جهنم ولبئس المهاد.
ومن الناس من يشري نفسه ابتغاء مرضات الله والله رؤوف بالعباد. يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين.
فإن زللتم من بعد ما جاءتكم البينات
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate. All praises to Allah, the Creator of the universes and their Sustainer, the Provider of believers and unbelievers. And may His choicest blessings be on the seal of His prophets, the last of His messengers and His holy progeny. And in particular, may His unceasing blessings flow on the immediate successor to the Holy Prophet, on Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Yesterday we were discussing the position of the Imam alayhi salam in Medina and discussed his contribution in Badr and Uhud. Just before those momentous occasions, two important events took place in his biography which cannot go unmentioned. First was his marriage to Bibi Fatima Zahra salamullahi alayha. That was indeed a momentous occasion because all the companions who were eligible to be married were all coveting for that position of marriage. The Holy Prophet, of course, could not take a decision except on the commands of Allah. And as you would expect, it fell to the hand of Imam Ali alayhi salam that the Holy Prophet decided to betroth his daughter. So much was this a matter of credit and grace to the Imam alayhi salam that Umar ibn Khattab is reported to have said that of all the companions, 3 things which Ali alayhi salam has been bestowed are matters for which I would covet, and I would rather have even one of them in place of high-bred camels of the time. The first that he mentioned was that the Holy Prophet betrothed him to Bibi Fatima alayha salam. The second he mentioned, only to complete the hadith, was that some differences between the 2 hadiths. The hadith I am talking about says that all the doors of the houses of the companions built near Masjid al-Nabawi were closed except that of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He could move out of his house straight to the mosque. Umar said that was a quality, that was a bestowal he so much coveted. And thirdly, that on the day of Khaybar, which we will discuss tonight inshallah, he so much wished the flag came to him. But that flag went to a person with special qualifications. It is not that the Holy Prophet chose any companion to bestow the flag onto him. And those qualifications we will consider tonight. In another hadith, the difference that I mentioned of was that Umar said Imam Ali alayhi salam was one of those who was allowed to enter the mosque in any condition. The remaining companions, as us, required to have ghusl in some circumstances. Imam Ali alayhi salam, with his tahara, was allowed to enter the mosque at any time. But that marriage with Bibi Fatima alayha salam was of greatest significance. And the choice had to be special, because from that progeny, Allah was to create leaders of the faith and defenders of the faith. The A'imma alayhimus salam were to come from that particular union. Allah had destined that it is not the direct descendants of the Holy Prophet who would be his successors, but those born from his daughter. And hence, the choice of the husband became a matter of great significance. I take you back to what we discussed on the first night, and the creation of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And those qualities then come into picture tonight to fit in the jigsaw completely. That those qualifications, that purity, that essence of creation from the light of divinity itself, through the light of Hazrat Holy Prophet, may peace be upon him, was essential to continue that procession of light from generation to generation, each generation creating a ma'soom in its own right. That ma'soom whom in the other hadiths we could see could become the thamar, the fruits of that shajara consisting of the roots of risala and the branch of wilayah. And hence the great importance of that particular marriage. But the way it was celebrated left a number of lessons which unfortunately we Shias have not learnt till today. And I'm not talking of any particular community. When we look at our marriages today, we find that our systems and the way we perform our marriages, of course the religious matter is taken care of by the ulama, the nikah is performed. But the expenses that are involved in our marriages, the demands, the ceremonies, one wonders whether they are applicable or suitable to followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. When one looks at his marriage, when one looks at the way the Holy Prophet conducted the marriage of his daughter, the mahar that was asked, 47 ounces of silver, and the way Imam Ali alayhi salam fulfilled it, there was no question of that mahar being forgiven. There was no question of the Holy Prophet saying, I will not take mahar from you. There was no question of it being given from any booty. from any war. Imam Ali alayhi salam is recorded in history to have sold his armor, his coat of arms, and from the proceeds of sale of that coat of armor, he settled the matter. But it was a figure that was one that even he in his condition could meet. Thus, the great lesson to us all, that mahar that is sought must be within limits and no more demands be made. Not only that, the ceremonies be kept within limits that becomes compatible with the serenity and the common performance of these ceremonies in the context of Shia marriages, of Muslim marriages. I am not criticizing any particular community. This is a worldwide situation amongst us. If you look at the marriages of Iran, you might find they are more horrendous than the marriages of India. In UK, we have problems of this very nature. In Africa, we have problems of this nature. In America, we have problems of this nature. It is not fair to pinpoint at any particular country or any particular city. Thus, it becomes important that this message of the way our marriages be performed, be conveyed. And who better? Who better? This is why I took this opportunity of raising the issue tonight, although this is not the occasion to discuss the details, but I thought I'd take 2 minutes to say this because the real people who can put this right within the community are not the leaders and the elders. Oh no. Because this is a disease that has taken roots for years. The real people who can take charge of this problem and solve it are the youth. Those youths who are eligible for marriage and will be undertaking their marriages can resolve in the name of Imam Ali alayhi salam and Bibi Fatima alayha salam that their marriages will be simple, that they will undertake marriages as these two leaders of the community undertook their marriages, and we will see the pattern changing. That is the way we can revolutionize our marriages. But there in his marriage was a great lesson. And year after that, in the 3rd year after Hijrah, they were blessed with the birth of Imam Hassan salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. The reason I mention that, of course, as part of his biography, but the main reason I mention that is this, and inshallah next year, if we have the opportunity of discussing the life of Janab Sayyida, we will look into this aspect in a little greater detail. But just to mention this today, that Imam Hassan alayhi salam was born on the 15th of the holy month of Ramadan. You might think Imam Ali alayhi salam would then be busy, the first son born in the family, the first grandson who came to be known as the very son of the Holy Prophet. And yet, on the 7th of Shawwal, matter of 3 weeks, Imam Ali alayhi salam has left his house in Medina and is out in Uhud to fight that battle that we discussed yesterday. You can see the importance of saving Islam in the eyes of Imam Ali alayhi salam. You can see the manifestation of the character of this personality. That verse of the Holy Quran, Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. My prayers, my sacrifices, and indeed how much sacrifice in Uhud, my life, my death are all for the pleasure of Allah, the Lord of the universes. You can see that verse implemented in its exact details. That to him, that birth in his family, the first son, did not make him stay behind. Not only did it make him go to the war front, but to be in the forefront of the forefront, standing next to the Holy Prophet, defending him as we saw last year. The year after that, in the 4th Hijri, there was born his second son, Imam Hussein, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. But soon, there were more problems. And soon, he had to be on the battlefield again, because the enemies put forward, strengthened their form of attack against Islam. And as we discussed last year, news reached the Holy Prophet that the Makkans are coming again. They were not satisfied with Uhud. Indeed, when they fled from Uhud, that is the expression, they fled from Uhud, they kept saying, we will return. Then now, the situation became worse for the Muslims, because the Meccans made alliances with the Jews. The Jews now joined hands with the Quraysh, and this alliance came out to fight the few Muslims of Medina. And so, please come in. May I request those in the corridor to come in? Please come in. There is plenty of room inside, and it's comfortable, so that people who come late do not have to look for places. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your assistance. Well, with this alliance between Jews and Muslims, the Holy Prophet was taken aback. We discussed last year how he got the news that attacks would be from two fronts. There would be attack from the enemy externally, and there would be attack internally. The Jews now would join hands. And whilst the Muslims would be fighting in the war front, the Jews will be attacking the women and the children. Getting that intelligence, the Holy Prophet divided up his army. And it was Salman's idea, you remember we discussed last year, that a trench be built. That is why the battle being called the Battle of the Trench, the Khandaq. And in that battle, and I do not propose to discuss the details because we discussed last year, again, Amr bin Abdawad crossed the trench with 4 other companions, and having crossed the trench, raised exactly the words that we heard last night, emanated in Uhud from Talha bin Abi. And there, the words of Talha were echoed again by Amr bin Abdawad. He was there with his companions, a giant of a fighter, said that he would fight 1,000 people at a go, single-handed. And when he crossed over the trench, it is said that he announced, is there a Muslim who is out to take my challenge and to come and fight me? Historians, Sheikh Mufid in particular, says the condition of the Muslims then on that battlefield was such as though there were birds sitting on their heads. They became so motionless, fearing that if they moved, the birds would fly away. Such was the motionless situation of the Muslims. Of course, Imam Ali alayhi salam wanted to go forward, and the Holy Prophet stopped him, said, hold on, let me see who else is prepared to come forward. You can see the test of the times. Nobody did. Amr bin Abdawad makes another announcement. This time he says, my voice is getting hoarse, calling for a combatant. He does not get a reply. And third time he says exactly what the previous one says. He says, isn't there a Muslim who wants to go to paradise? But that taunt of Amr bin Abdawad, which you've heard before, but I brought it in today as a matter of principle. That taunt of Amr bin Abdawad, isn't there a Muslim who wants to go to paradise, by making a sacrifice in throwing himself out to fight Amr bin Abdawad, was a telling statement, which I think remains true till today. And when that taunt came out, Hazrat Amir stood up. It was a taunt which, of course, the Holy Prophet could not bear. He immediately granted leave to Hazrat Amir to go and fight Amr bin Abdawad, and there was Hazrat Amir out there. The point I wanted to make was, how many times today in our lives, because these incidents of Hazrat Amir are not meant only to decorate books of history. That decoration, of course, they do present, and they inspire us. But that inspiration within us is supposed to be converted into kinetic action. How many times today do we have opportunities to fight? Not necessarily an infidel, not necessarily somebody opposing Islam, but to fight ourselves, the nafs. How many times that occasion arises when we have to fight our ego in order to obtain paradise? Because, as the Holy Prophet said, the Jihadul Akbar is one in which we fight our nafs to prevent ourselves from these wrongs. And when we do get that opportunity, that call of Amr bin Abdawad, of that infidel, because the shaitan who is creating the situation is no less than him, is no different from him. And that call when it starts, we must ask ourselves that are we not prepared to make that sacrifice? It may be purely a matter of small ego. Do I do this? It may just be as a volunteer in the mosque. Do I do this or does Mr. X do it? The cause must be the important answer. It should not matter who does it, who serves, who takes office, who proceeds further. But these questions arise day in, day out. I remember incidents of people saying, oh, on that particular night, the niyaz of Hazrat Amir is done by me for years. I will not allow anybody else to do it. Are these not matters, small matters in our daily lives, in which sacrifices become important for the ultimate cause? And the ultimate cause must include the unity of mu'mineen, so that we drag on, we move on, rather than be embroiled in petty matters. That question, is there not anybody to make a sacrifice to earn paradise? Because these small sacrifices that we would make in our daily lives earn the thawab from Allah. Because what is important to Allah is the niyyah with which we perform our actions. I raise this matter now because I will raise it again in respect of the Imam's actions both in Khadlaq and in Khaybar. When this matter arises, the next matter that shows the personality of the Imam alayhi salam is this. When he moves forward to challenge Amr bin Abdawad, he says to him, "Oh Amr bin Abdawad, you are famous for saying that if somebody asks you for something, you will do at least one of the three. If he asks three, well, the figure of three in those days of Amr bin Abdawad was devoted to their three gods, Lat, Uzza and Manat. Those were three big idols whom those idol worshippers were worshipping. And when you say in their names, you say in the name of the three, and hence Amr bin Abdawad. So you can see what a gigantic idol worshipper this man was. He made a vow that if three things are asked, I will perform one, so that at least one is done in the name of one of them. And the first thing that Hazrat Amir alayhi salam asks of him, what an expression I use because of lack of my English. Because when would Hazrat Amir be asking anything of another human? But he told him, he said, bring faith. The first thing I ask you to do is pronounce La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. And Amr bin Abdawad says, oh my cousin, if that was what I was prepared to do, I would not be here fighting. That was precisely the core of the battle. Imam Ali alayhi salam demonstrated visibly that the fight there was purely a fight of principle, to have divinity recognized and its awareness accepted in the world. And secondly, that his purpose in the fight was not family feud, was not to earn any position, it was only for the sake of Allah. That proximity which he had attained in the earliest part of Islam takes us back to what we discussed on the second night, of how immediately after his birth the Holy Prophet took him over and takes us back to his khutbah qasiyah, in which he explained how he was nourished, how he was nurtured. Therefore were we able to say that by then his flesh was made of Islam, the blood that flew in his veins was made of Islam. And you can see that permeating within him in that situation in which he is fighting a giant who fights 1,000 people. The first claim he makes is, accept Islam. And when Amr bin Abdawad says, I will not, can you imagine the second demand he makes? That if you do not want, then go away, don't fight me. Proves beyond question that Khandak was not an offensive battle. The Christian historian can say what he likes, but it proves that this was not offensive battle. It was a defensive jihad, in which even at that point in time, when there were only three choices that Imam could exercise against Amr bin Abdawad, of course, after La ilaha illallah, he says, go away and our quarrel is over. I haven't come to fight you, you have come to fight me, go away and I will leave you alone. And when Amr bin Abdawad says, if I did that, look at the answer he gives. If I did that, the women of Quraysh will laugh at me. That is the difference. That makes the infidel, that the women will laugh at me, and so I fight. Had he said, I'm fighting for Lat and Manat, we might have thought different of him. But there is some principle there. He didn't even say that. Look at what Ali said, I fight because I want you to say La ilaha illallah. And when he said he couldn't do that, then the third, and here you can see the infantile state of Islam. You can see how it was yet in a very embryonic stage. He says, well then, dismount from the horse and let us fight both on feet. You can see the situation in which Hazrat Amir was. That man was on his horse, and Hazrat Amir did not even have a horse on which to fight. His glory remained with the Dhul-Fiqar in his hand, about which we saw the angels praising him yesterday in Uhud. And indeed, now Amr bin Abdawad is tied. He is tied because it's the third choice. And with the third choice, he is now stuck. So he immediately dismounts. And he says, but, O Ali, your father was a great friend of mine. And I regard you as one of the noblest persons in the Quraysh living today. You can see how credits flowed to Imam Ali alayhi salam in every battle that we considered. You saw what he was told by Shayba in Badr. You heard what he was told in Uhud yesterday. You now hear Amr bin Abdawad calling him the noblest of men who lived. And we will soon see what Amr bin Abdawad's sister said of Imam Ali alayhi salam. That was Ali. If we are looking for the character of that personality, to be called the noblest of men, and to be called so by an arch enemy on a battlefield, is a credit which history only ascribes to him. And I say this as a matter of a bold claim. The lesson, of course, is for us to inculcate that nobility within ourselves. He says, you are the noblest of youths, the noblest of Quraysh that lives today. And your father was a great friend of mine. I do not want to have to fight you. Hazrat Amir says, if you are not bringing Islam, I want to fight you. And not only fight you, I want to kill you. You can see the spirit that was moving in this personality. And all this is important. Hearing this, that I want to kill you, now Amr bin Abdawad says, removes his sword and wants to start a battle. There you can see the line of the personalities of these two combatants. On the one hand, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, I want to fight you and kill you only because you are an infidel. And only because you are creating a situation of jihad. If you ran away, if you went away, I wouldn't even chase you. On the other, so there is no egoism here. There is no anger. There is no personal motive in this battle. Hence his nobility. Hence his taqwa, if I may so call it. Hence his piety. And that is what matters. On the other hand, the fellow, although a giant, although fighting with a younger man, was not fighting for a cause, as we saw. He was fighting only because he has now been angered by what Imam Ali alayhi salam told him, that I want to kill you. So he says, well, if you want to kill me, I'll kill you. That is the spirit in which Amr bin Abdawad was fighting. In no time, and I did not want to discuss the battle, in no time, Amr bin Abdawad was dead. He was on the ground. Some historians have described the battle in detail. Some have said we only saw dust blowing about, couldn't see exactly what happened, the exchange of swords that passed. Amr bin Abdawad, by the way, was said to have worn a double armor. And not only that, he had a helmet, and within his helmet he had kept a piece of stone so that no sword can cut through his head, and a double turban on it. And yet it is said that when Imam Ali alayhi salam's sword went on his head and it didn't go at any other part of the body, it not only cut that stone into pieces, the helmet and the double armor, but it split away the body in twins. When Hazrat Amir alayhi salam comes back, you can see that flow of nobility, of piety, continuing its inexorable flow right to the end of the scene. When he comes back with the head of Amr ibn Abdawad, the first question Umar ibn Khattab asks him before the Prophet speaks to Hazrat Amir is, did you bring his armor? Did you remove his armor and bring his armor back? And Imam Ali says, what for? And he says, well, it is the most expensive armor in Arabia that any warrior has ever worn. And you left it there? The answer Hazrat Amir alayhi salam gave again has that fragrance of nobility in it. He says, I did not want, I wish the people in Karbala took some example from this. He says, I did not wish to make naked a worthy warrior who has had his name over the years. I did not want to see his body lie without his helmet on, without his armor on it. When the sister of Amr bin Abdawad comes on the body of her brother, she says, and I do not want to take your time giving you the Arabic poetry she recited, which is in the annals of her history. She says, oh my brother, I would have wept over you all my life, but for the fact that I can see you were killed by the most unique of the nobles of this land. That armor of Amr bin Abdawad, intact on his body, he being left in a position in which his body could be described as it was, itself made, and the other ornaments that Amr bin Abdawad embellished himself with, all left intact, none of them taken from the body of Amr bin Abdawad, made her say, what a noble person he must be who killed you. But you can see that the first blow, shall I say the first encounter, not even the blow, was for the sake of Allah, and the last exit from that body was for the sake of Allah. No greed for life, for ego, no greed for any worldly possessions on his body. The criticism we are having today, and this is why I chose this, when asked to speak on Hazrat Amir alayhi salam, I chose this subject for the youth is the criticism we are having today, that the Shias are only exaggerating the position on Hazrat Amir alayhi salam, otherwise the Caliphs were elected people. A beautiful word in today's language, that there was an election, which we will discuss in a night or two, inshallah ta'ala, whether there was an election or not. But that criticism which we are having today is not new to us. It's not new to us. It existed in the Prophet, if you can believe what I'm saying. And Sheikh Hufid sets out a conversation between Rabi'a bin Sa'ad and Hudayfa Yamani, eminent companion of the Holy Prophet. Rabi'a says to Hudayfa, oh Hudayfa, you are one of the persons who reports the virtues of Ali alayhi salam. I have been in Basra, and the people in Basra, and we will have to discuss Basra at some stage. Maybe we cannot discuss in these 10 nights, but I've been asked to prolong these discussions on Imam Ali alayhi salam for 5 nights after Ashura. So, from the 12th Eve, Sham-e-Ghariban, of course, we will be occupied, so there will be no sitting here, not our sitting here in English. But from the 12th night, inshallah, we shall have 5 nights, and one of those nights we will discuss this particular aspect of the people of Basra and what they did. purpose of these discussions? To learn what he expects, how he expects us to behave in these times from his behavior. You can see this person, Rabia, saying to Huzaifa Yamani, an eminent companion, that I was in Basra and the people of Basra are saying that, oh, the virtues of Imam Ali alayhi salam are just being exaggerated. What do you say about it? Huzaifa Yamani says, Rabia, woe on you. These are the words of an eminent companion. These are not the words of a Shiite alim. He says, woe on you, O Rabia, that you should be uttering such words. Is there any person who can equal the qualities of Imam Ali alayhi salam? To the critic of today, when they tell me that we are exaggerating, I say, are you not astonishing me? Are you not giving me greater credit than I have? Do we have the capacity to exaggerate the qualities of Imam Ali alayhi salam? Because to exaggerate also needs capacity. We have not been able to understand his qualities even today. And how can we? Umar ibn Khattab was once looking for Imam Ali alayhi salam. He goes at a session and says, is Ali here? He asks Salman. Salman says, I do not know Ali. The Holy Prophet happens to be there. Something you know already, but worth repeating. The Holy Prophet. But Imam Ali alayhi salam was there. He turns around and finds him there. He immediately goes to the Holy Prophet and says, you say Salman does not lie, or was it Abu Dharr al-Ghafari? Does not lie. But Imam Ali was there, I asked about him. And he says he didn't know him. So he says, call him. The companion is cold. And if it was Salman, the Holy Prophet says to Salman, oh Salman, listen to the complaints from Umar. When he listens to the complaint, he turns around to the Holy Prophet and says, Ya Rasulullah, isn't it you who told me that nobody has known Allah but for you and Ali, and nobody has known you but for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Ali alayhi salam, and nobody has known Ali but subhanahu wa ta'ala and yourself. We do not claim, we do not even dare to claim that we know our Imam. Where is the question of us being able to exaggerate these qualities? We don't reach that level. That is what we say. But when Rabia asked Hudayfa this sort of a question, Hudayfa says, oh Rabia, on the day of Khandaq, when Amr bin Abdullah says, isn't there a Muslim who wants to go to paradise? Where were the other companions? Where was Abu Bakr? Where was Umar? Where was Hudayfa? And where were you? Where were we all? That he came out, and the way he fought, is that not enough by itself? That is why I said we could not have missed to discuss Khandaq in context of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Hudayfa says, isn't that by itself proof of the high level of Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu wa sallam alayhi? Well, the Holy Prophet so decorated him when he comes back from that battle. Indeed, the Holy Prophet decorated him before he went. Before he went into this battle, the Holy Prophet decorated him. I didn't want to say it because I will show you proof from the Sunnite sources on that one. How did he describe Imam Ali alayhi salam? He said, Baraz al-imanu kullu ila al-kufri kullu. That what is now going to happen is that you will see the embodiment of Iman, the embodiment of faith going to fight the totality of kufr, of infidelity. That is how he described those two. But you can see that Imam, as we went into analysis of Imam Ali alayhi salam's action, you can see his faith permeating through every action, through every step, through every stroke of his on the body of Amr bin Abdullah. Described by the Holy Prophet as Imanu Kullu, the embodiment, the totality of faith. And when he comes back, the Holy pieces of coins made in a silversmith shops. These are decorations that will last on the day of judgment. He said this, the title of Ali from today is Asadullah al-Ghalib. When we call him Asadullah, my dear youth, we are not calling him because we can coin the phrase. We are incapable of doing so. We are calling him that because the Holy Prophet named him so. And that is the end of that particular criticism. But these matters that we say are not only contained in our books, they are contained in Sunni sources. And I will not detain you by giving you too many proofs. Just one or two from their leading sources. Again, quoting from Kanduzi. Yesterday I have already given you the credentials of this Shafi scholar Kanduzi. And he says again in Yanabiul Mawadda, you will find this at page 94 and 95. He says that when the Imam Ali alayhi salam was being sent to fight Amr bin Abdawad, and he calls him by name, he says, قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله برز الإيمان كله إلى الشرك كله فلما قتله. And when he had already killed Amr bin Abdawad, the Holy Prophet tells him, أبشر يا علي فلو وزن عملك اليوم بعمل أمتي لرجو عملك بعملهم. If today your action, and you will see why the Holy Prophet said this, if today your action was to be put on one pane of the scale and the action of the entire ummah was to be put in another action of the pane, you will find that your pain is weightier and heavier. I am not reporting from Majlisi, as I said yesterday. This is Janabiul Mawadda saying that. This is a leading Sunni source saying that is what the Holy Prophet decorated him with. And we can understand why. Because the sincerity. We stand in prayer and we say Allahu Akbar. With what sincerity? Because the moment we leave that, we go and worship another human being. That is precisely what Hazrat Amir said, is a denial, is a negation of that Allahu Akbar in our prayer. And we will see this, we will see more and more examples of this when we discuss the lives of the Aimma alayhimus salam, one after the other, inshallah wa ta'ala. But that is the point of emphasis from the Holy Prophet, that what the Imam did was entirely with that serene sincerity in the cause of Allah. But this hadith is not reported only by Kanduzi and Abiul Muwadda. You will find it in Hakim has reported in his Mustadrak, and we've already discussed what that means. The leading work of Hakim. It is in Kunzul Umman. It is in Madarijul Nubuwa of all these leading Sunni scholars. It is also in Manakibul Akhtab of Khawarizmi, and indeed Khawarizmi, having set out all this, says that the Holy Prophet made a special prayer for Imam Ali alayhi salam. Now, in making a selection between companions, this prayer is of great significance, because the prayer is Allahumma a'ati aliyan fadila lam tu'tiha ahadun qablahu wa la tu'tiha ahadun ba'dahu. Oh Allah, give Ali excellence, fadila, give him excellence of a kind you have never given anybody before. Not only that, but also of a kind that you will never give anybody hereafter. So you can see that of all creations, of all creatures of Allah, the fadila that Imam Ali alayhi salam was to be accorded, was to surpass that any other person would ever get. What choice of companions do we make in these circumstances? What choice do we have? Because if this, and this comes from a Sunni source, if this is the fadila for which the Holy Prophet prayed to Allah for Ali, can any Muslim suggest that that prayer was not granted by Allah? Ma'adallahi wa ta'ala? Would that prayer of the Holy Prophet not be granted? And if it was granted, where is the question of choice? Where is the question of election? But apart apart from that, we will discuss it from the constitutional angle also. And the hadith is well reported by Ibn Abil Hadid in his sharh of Nahj al-Balagha. So you can see that this hadith has been amply reported. It is also in the Mustadrak of Hakim. You can see this particular hadith well reported in all sources. But when we are talking of the faith of Imam Ali alayhi salam, immediately after Khandaq was Hudaybiyah. We've discussed Hudaybiyah last year, and I will not detain you on that subject this time, only to remind you how when Sahal bin Amr was getting the final deed of settlement settled, it was dictated by the Holy Prophet. And the Holy Prophet, it is significant, we did not go into this detail last year for the reason that we were to inshallah do it this year, and Allah has given us the opportunity, for which we thank Him immensely. Because the dhikr of Ali is by itself ibadah, is by itself worship of Allah. History records, and this is recorded in all books, and in all Shia, Sunni, Christian, Jewish, all writers have recorded this one after the other. Says that when the Holy Prophet dictated it, he of course started with the words Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And when that ayah was put in the forefront, Sahal bin Amr objected. Sahal said, no, we don't accept this. So the Holy Prophet said, how do you want to start then? He says, start it the way we accept to start. Holy Prophet says, how? He says, Bi-ismika Allahumma. The Holy Prophet said, yes, do that. And Imam Ali alayhi salam crossed out the first bit and said, Bi-ismika Allahumma. The name of Allah was intact. That was the matter of great significance to Hazrat Amir. The other matters, the other qualities were important but secondary. Primarily, the existence of Allah, La ilaha illallah, was accepted in that particular commencement. He made the amendment. Then the next one was that this is an agreement made between Muhammad Rasulullah and Amr bin Sahal. And Amr says, no, I am not accepting that you are Rasulullah. And Imam Ali says, Sahal, leave your obstinacy. Woe to you that you should say so. There is no question. Look at the faith of this personality. There is no question on this, about this matter. There is no denying, there is no gainsaying that he is the messenger, true messenger of Allah. What are you talking about? Sahal's answer was, Ya Ali, if I accepted that, there is no need for resettlement. Then I would be a Muslim. The Holy Prophet immediately says to Imam Ali, delete it. And look at the answer of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He says, I cannot delete the words. Rasulullah, my hand, Ya Rasulullah, does not move. He says, when you commanded me the first time, I obeyed you. When you command me now, I want to obey you. But my hands don't move. You can see the extent of his obedience to the Holy Prophet. There was no disobedience on this instance at all. There was total incapacity. There was absolute incapacity on his part. You can imagine, this is why I say Imam Ali alayhi salam's faith was not rested in his mental faculties. It was embedded in him fully. Hence called Al-Iman Kullu, that he was the embodiment of Iman. He says, I cannot delete these words. And the significance that you can see is this. In the first amendment, Tawheed was preserved. In the second amendment, Risala was being cancelled. Because then Muhammad remains a human like all. Basharun mithlukum, as he intends to be called. That is a human being like other human beings. That Imam Ali refused to accept on the day of Hudaybiyah. He says, you are not talking of Basharun mithlukum. Don't regard him as a Bashar like any, that is a human being like any other human being. He is more than that. He is a messenger of Allah. When there came the question of total cancellation, total withdrawal of the Risala, he refused to make the amendment. And the Holy Prophet made the amendment himself. But warning him, Ya Ali, a day will come when you in similar circumstances will have to sign an agreement, a settlement, which will pain you. But just as it pains undertake it, you will also undertake it. In the post-Ashura majlises, inshallah, we shall consider that situation also, and how Imam Ali alayhi salam painfully had to sign such an agreement. But the significant part of that history is this, that eminent companions could not swallow this particular agreement. And they challenged Nastajiru Billah, the Holy Prophet, there and then. An eminent companion like Umar ibn Khattab, and this has been recorded by whosoever you ask. Ibn Hisham has recorded it, Ibn Athir has recorded it, Muya has recorded it, Davenport has recorded it. You can see everybody throughout has recorded this particular part of history. That the settlement was so difficult to swallow without enough faith, that a companion like Umar ibn Khattab stands up and says to the Holy Prophet, aren't you a prophet of Allah? Astaghfirullah, what a question, aren't you a prophet of Allah? And the Holy Prophet says, of course I am. And he says, are you now making a settlement in a way in which Islam is demeaned? And the Holy Prophet says, Umar, I make this settlement on the orders of Allah. I am the messenger of Allah, and I do not act without His approval, without His orders. It is only what is in His pleasure that I act. If only Quran was read, وَمَا يَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Clear words, this is how they act. They do not wish for anything except that which Allah wishes. Indeed, Umar, not being able to do anything more, because that is the reply God goes to Abu Bakr and complains to Abu Bakr that, oh Abu Bakr, look at what the Holy Prophet is doing. And indeed he is reported to have said that never did I entertain greater doubts on the messengerhood, on the prophethood of Muhammad than in Hudaybiyah. In other words, he had doubts on other occasions, but this was his greatest doubt. The reason why I make this point is this, that when companions of such eminence had doubts in what the Holy Prophet was doing, you see on the other hand Imam Ali alayhi salam writing out that deed. He settled that deed of settlement. He incorporated those very terms in that settlement to live till today, which the other companions thought was demeaning Islam. And he did so because of his deep faith in Islam, in Allah, and in the Messenger of Allah. And one sees that faith portrayed in Khaybar. Again, we have discussed Khaybar last night, so I will not take you into how it came about, but only in the context of Imam Ali alayhi salam. You remember, he was not there in Khaybar. He had a problem with his eyes, and he remained behind. And hence, the standard and the banner, which I said was in his hands in every battle, at the commencement of Khaybar, was not in his hands because he was not there. And it was given to Abu Bakr, and this again is reported by all the leading historians, all of them, including Tabari and Ibn Hisham, Ibn Athir, all of them have recorded this. It started with Abu Bakr taking a battalion. The Jews repulsed them, and he came back without having conquered the fort. Turns to the Holy Prophet and says, no, we have not succeeded, we have been repulsed. The Holy Prophet was pained. He sends Umar, gives the standard to Umar and says, you go and take a battalion. Umar goes with a battalion. He comes back, and there was a little fiasco there, because Umar was complaining that the people who were given to him were cowardly. The people were complaining that Umar was unfit to be in charge. Umar was cowardly. The Holy Prophet was very much pained. And he announced, let all of this stop. Tomorrow, I will give this standard to that man. لَيَعْطِيَنَّ رَايَةً غَدًا رَجُلًا قَرَّارًا غَيْرَ فَرَّارٍ يُحِبُّ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ وَيُحِبَّهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولَهُ. I will give it this standard tomorrow to one who is a man who is steadfast, firm. غَيْرَ فَرَّارٍ. He is not a person who will come back as the others had. He is a person who loves Allah and loves the Messenger of Allah, and Allah and the Messenger of Allah love him. That is the greater quality. That was the title that The Holy Prophet gave him. As I said, we perform acts in good faith, hoping Allah will accept them. And that is our hope. That is our niyyah. Qurbatan ilallah, that may Allah accept, even if it is 2 rakat namaz, it's one fast. The little things we do, we are never sure that He has. We have hope. We live in that balance of hope and fear. Hope that Allah will accept because He is Rahman, He is Rahim. Fear that we have faults in ourselves and we may have gone wrong. So we do our acts in the faith that Allah will pardon and will accept out of His mercy. Here we are, proof, seal from the Holy Prophet that Allah loves him and Allah accepts his actions. And Allah does that. وَاللَّهُ يَتَقَبَّلُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. He accepts it from those who present their actions with taqwa, with purity. And this is why we have taken time tonight to analyze the purity of that personality. Because that is where our great lesson lies. Well, that night passed in which everybody is now dreaming. Umar said, as I have already narrated, that one of the things that he coveted for, which went to Ali, was the banner on the day of Khaybar. He had just been given the banner, and he came back. Yet, when these words were uttered in respect of the person who will be given the banner, he also coveted for it. All night, companions kept awake. Indeed, it is said, when it dawned, the father of Umar ibn Sa'ad of Karbala, his father, Sa'ad bin Abil Waqqas, threw himself before the Holy Prophet, so that the Holy Prophet should not forget that he too exists. He too could be given a banner. But the Holy Prophet called for Imam Ali alayhi salam, and Imam Ali alayhi salam was called over to fight this particular battle. And when Imam Ali alayhi salam went to fight that battle, he fights down Marhab. Before that, he had killed his brother Harith. Harith was himself a monk and a famous warrior. Imam Ali, when he killed Harith, this is when Marhab came out, and Marhab wanted to fight Imam Ali alayhi salam. And when Marhab asks Imam Ali alayhi salam, who are you, what is your name? He says, Ana alladhi, I am the one whose mother named him Haydar. I am the one who was named Haydar because Marhab, Imam Ali alayhi salam knew, and we will discuss this in our post-Ashura sittings. If there is any question about his imamah, we will discuss those details then, inshallah. Imam Ali alayhi salam at this point in time knew what Marhab's mother had told him. She had told him, oh Marhab, you are a fantastic fighter, but watch out when you meet someone who was named by his mother Haydar. Hence Imam Ali alayhi salam reminded him, but I wish he took a lesson from it and learned that this is a true representative from Allah. He knows secrets from Allah which nobody else knew. That conversation passed between the mother and the son, just between the two of them, in secrecy, in confidence that the mother reposed in the son, so that the son should watch out. And why did the mother say that to the son? May I venture a guess and say, so that when he comes to that man, he should accept faith from that man, and he should not fight him. That is what the mother would have wished for a child. No mother wishes that the child should only benefit in this world. The mother wishes the child to benefit in the hereafter also. And we saw this in Karbala, day after martyr after martyr. Yet, in that situation of the battle, and this is why I keep saying, not for nothing, my dear youths, that it is easy when you are writing a thesis to sit and philosophize. But to practice what Imam Ali alayhi salam practiced on the battlefield is a different matter altogether. There he puts forward to him that I am one who is called Haydar. And I am again not saying this out of our sources. It is also in Sunni sources. It is reported, for example, in Mustadrak by Hakim. And the words he uses are that when Imam Ali was confronted by Marhab, he says, أَنَا الَّذِي سَمَّتْنِي أُمِّي حَيْدَرًا, words in the Sunni source, exactly identical words. And in no time, and I do not want to detain you on this, in no time, Marhab was over, he was on the ground. When Marhab is on the ground, the Imam comes back, and again is honored. Is honored by the Holy Prophet for his role there. What I omitted to tell you in respect of Khandaq, perhaps because we discussed this in such length yesterday in Ahad, was that in respect of Khandaq and that stroke that he gave to Amr bin Abdawad, what the Holy Prophet says, ضربة علي يوم الخندق أفضل من عبادة الثقلين. That stroke of Imam Ali alayhi salam in Khandaq was superior to the worship of the Thaqalain, of creatures in both the worlds of mankind and of jinn. And exactly that is the explanation here. Marhab was fought for the pleasure of Allah, and the Holy Prophet gave that indication before even Imam Ali went to the field. He says he'll be a person who will be loving Allah and Allah will be loving him. And again, don't think this is something written by Sheikh Mufid or Allama Hilli. You will find this in all leading Sunni writings. It is historically and picturesquely put. The first I want to put to you is what is written in Musnad of Ahmad bin Hanbal. We've already discussed. He is the leader of the Hanbali sect from which the Wahhabis exist today. And he says in his Musnad, he says when the bearer was the standard was to be given, he says that the Holy Prophet says that tomorrow, Ghadan, he will give it to ila rajulin yuhibbuhu Allahu wa rasuluhu wa yuhibbu Allah wa rasulahu. He has just put it the other way. He says he's a person whom Allah and his Prophet love, and he loves Allah and his Prophet, and he will not return. La yarji'u, he will not return hatta, until he has won the battle and brings victory back. Well, those then are words from Ahmad bin Hanbal, and you will see that reported by Nisai. Indeed, this Nisai is one of those who is of Sahih Sitta, one of those six who is regarded as absolutely authentic. Indeed, the first of those who is regarded as authentic is Bukhari. And you will find this hadith in Bukhari also. I quote to you the English translation, because Bukhari has been translated into English. This is a translation by Dr. Muhammad Muhsin Khan, and it emanates from the Islamic University of Madinatul Munawwara. You will find this in volume 5 at page 44. I will only read the English part of it. It says, narrated Salama, that is the person from whom this particular narration comes. Ali happened to stay behind the Prophet and did not join him during the battle of Khaybar, for he was having eye trouble. Then he said, now this is another version, not our version, how could I remain behind Allah's apostle? So Ali set out following the Prophet. Our ulama say, our scholars say, that the Prophet called for him. This is where Nadi Aliyan comes in. But we have no time to discuss Nadi Aliyan for tonight anyway. So Ali set out following the Prophet. When it was the eve of the day in the morning of which Allah helped the Muslims to conquer it, Allah's apostle said, I will give the flag to a man, or tomorrow a man whom Allah and his apostle love. And he will take the flag. A man, or said, a man who loves Allah and his apostle, and Allah will grant victory under his leadership. Suddenly Ali came, whom we did not expect. The people say, this is Ali, Allah's apostle, gave him the flag, and Allah granted victory under his leadership. All I ask is this, and indeed I get this question from Allama Hilli. Allama Hilli raises this particular point in one of his leading books, and says, isn't this enough that in Majma'u Zawaid, he says, isn't it enough that all all historians should be accepting. And by all historians, we mean Bukhari, we mean Sahih Muslim, because it is in Sahih Muslim. Sahih Muslim has been translated into English too. And without taking your time, I will only give you the reference. The particular reference on this particular subject is contained in Muslim, and you will find it on page 1285. Yes, you'll find it at that particular page in Sahih Muslim. So you see that in the leading Sahih of the six, I have references of four in Bukhari, in Muslim, in Tirmizi, and in Nisa'i. All these report this particular hadith. Bukhari is in the original is reported at volume 4, page 65. He is again reported in volume 5 at page 23 on this particular matter, and in volume 5 at page 22. In 3 of his volumes you find this particular hadith. But if Abu Huraira is the reporter whom you accept, Abu Huraira has reported this too. And it is in the book of Ibn Maghazali. Ibn Maghazali reports this particular hadith, bi asnadihi, with his narrators, reporting from Abu Huraira, and exact words are coming, yuhibbullah wa rasulahu wa yuhibbahullah wa rasulah. Those words in honor of Imam Ali are reported by Abu Huraira also. The question with which I want to leave you tonight as we move on to Karbala is this: if he is a person who loves Allah and the Prophet, but Allah and Prophet love him, is there another human being? I'm not even asking companions. I'm not asking is there any other companion. Is there another human being you can find about whom the Holy Prophet would have said that Allah and I love this particular person? That is a testimony to Ali, which stands unique, which stands unparalleled. And not to recognize his status, and not to recognize his nearness to Allah, is only to deprive oneself of that blessing from Allah. But one finds that that deprivation continued right up to Karbala. Right up to Karbala, Imam Ali's near relation, Aqil, his family also was put into considerable difficulties. Was it not enough that Imam Hussein alayhi salam sent Muslim, the son of Aqil, as an emissary, cousin of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to Kufa? And there, as you know, Hazrat Muslim was subjected to considerable torture. Wasn't it enough that Hazrat Muslim is seen on the top of the citadel in Kufa, and from the top of the citadel he tells the clouds the position of Hazrat Muslim was, there was not one person he could trust in Kufa to say stand a word to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Hazrat Muslim says to the clouds, oh clouds, as you move from here towards Medina, please tell Hussein that he does not come to Kufa. They are out to murder me. They've already put me in this state, and soon he is told that he will now be thrown from the top of the fort right to the ground. And as he is told that, he sends his salutation to Imam Hussein. Each person who presented his sacrifice in this, every martyr in Karbala sent his last salutation to Imam, and so did Hazrat Muslim from Kufa. From Kufa he says, Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah. And just as Imam Hussein went to the body of each of them, but answered the salam, Imam Hussein suddenly stops on his saddle, turns towards Kufa and says, Wa alaikum salam ya Akhi Muslim. Hazrat Abbas says, I was bewildered. Why is the salam replying to Hazrat Muslim? Hazrat Abbas is not able to understand that until some travelers come, and the truth is emerged. When these travelers come, they are not able to face Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein says, tell me what has happened about my brother Muslim in Kufa. And what do they tell him? They tell him, oh Hussein, we cannot even tell you. When we left Kufa, his body was being dragged in the streets of Kufa. His body was being dragged in the high street of Kufa. You might have thought that was enough sacrifice by Muslims, but not His widow phones his son Abdullah and says, Abdullah, your father has sacrificed his life for Hussein. Tomorrow is the day of sacrifice. And Abdullah says, oh mother, do not worry about that. I will be in the forefront. Abdullah also takes leave of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, goes and fights. And when Imam Hussein alayhi salam is on the body of Abdullah, he turns around to Abdullah and says, oh Abdullah, I lost my cousin Muslim, two of his sons, Muhammad and Ibrahim. I do not know where they are. And now you are going away. Who will look after your mother, Abdullah? Abdullah says, oh Hussein, my mother himself wanted me to do this. This is a small sacrifice from the household of Akhil to the household of Ali. May Allah accept our sacrifice and may you be saved from ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة